Welcome to part 3. In this life, success often comes mainly due to timing. Timing is extremely important to succeed in anything. Now, as luck would have it, there are a number of factors that make the timing perfect for an economic boycott to work like a charm in Kenya right now. Top on the list is what I'll refer to as the emerging middle class in Kenya. Okay? Now, we have a group which is getting larger and larger by the day of middle income Kenyans who have spending power. They're very exposed. Many of them are very well traveled, and even the ones who are not well traveled are online. Yes. And we have social media gadgets, or rather social media forums like Facebook, WhatsApp, etc., etc. So they're very aware of what's happening all over the world. They're very aware of what's happening around them. Now, if you want to know that this group has serious purchasing power, wako na pesa na wananuanga vitu, check how companies have been behaving in recent times, especially these large companies. They have been very deliberately targeting this emerging middle class. Okay? In fact, name to me, just give me the name of a blue chip company or a company in Kenya which is doing very well, and I'll point to the middle class as one of the major sectors, or rather one of the major cluster of their regular clients. I'm talking about companies like Safaricom, KBL, Kenya Breweries, and so on and so forth. Okay? Even property sales. Property sales in Kenya, in terms of units, has shot up dramatically in recent years. Who's responsible for that? The emerging middle class. Now, what this means for most business people is that there's very stiff competition for this group of people, because they have spending power. There's a very high competition for them amongst companies. And therefore, we can also say that if for some reason you have a company or a business, and then these very powerful middle income people decide to move away from your product, you're done. It'll affect your business in a big way. Now, when you add to this group a very enthusiastic low income group, I mean those are the vast majority of people, and also maybe a few high income people, then you know what I'm talking about. Then you start to get an idea of the kind of devastation an economic boycott would bring. And this is why, in my view, this thing of economic boycott by NASA as a way to protest the illegal presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta, it was a master stroke, or rather is a master stroke. Game shot. Hiyo itafanya kazi. Now, in the first episode in this series, I mentioned how sensitive banks are. That as far as banks are concerned, you just need a large enough group of your customers to walk into your bank all at the same time and ask for their money, to be in some serious liquidity problems, no matter how large your bank is. Because what tends to happen when the other account holders who are not involved in the economic boycott realize what is happening, they too will jump ship. It makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, no Jubilee supporter, no matter how patriotic towards Jubilee they are, will keep large sums of money in a bank that where there's a high possibility of the bank being brought down by NASA economic boycott. Money is extremely sensitive, and nobody wants to risk, no matter what. So now you start to get a picture of what's going to happen. Now, of course, a bank like Equity has, has got very solid funding, has got a very solid foundation, and they could easily get the cash, to be able to weather the run on their bank, to be able to control and overcome the run on deposits, in their bank. Yes, they're able to do that. But the bottom line is that there'll be an impact. You like it or not, there will definitely be an impact. Even companies like Safaricom are starting to feel the heat. Now, in my view, Bob Collymore made a very serious and grave error. In how he dealt very shoddily with the NASA and the opposition. Yes, when you're in a large company that relies on public goodwill, like Safaricom does, yeah, you don't answer a person, yeah, the way he answered Raila Odinga. You don't answer a person who commands millions of votes like that countrywide, just like that, yeah. You should have at least consulted and asked around, what do you guys think? Do you think this guy can bring our business down? How do you think we should handle this? Because you should have handled it in a better way, yeah. Instead of removing public statements, yeah, castigating NASA, which just made NASA supporters angrier, yeah. What you should have done is you should have had a private meeting with Raila Odinga and the opposition and cool down things. Yeah, that's what a CEO, a responsible CEO, does. But what did he do? He assumed, oh, I have the support of the government. In Africa, the government is everything. These guys can do me nothing. So he just came out with guns blazing. Oh, now this story of sick leave, I don't buy it. And, well, I may be mistaken, but I'll be very surprised if I see Bob call him back as CEO of Safaricom. Indeed, the board, if they're ever going to send the guy back here to Kenya to run Safaricom, that will be a blunder. Yeah, because you know business is business. Yeah, what you want is you want a profit. You look after your bottom line. Yeah, you're not in politics. Okay, so you do the right thing. Yeah, to make sure that the profits keep flowing in. To make sure that you don't have a backlash. Yeah, from one side of the political divide. Now, in my view, the Kolimo mistake will be very, very difficult to repair. Extremely difficult to repair. Yeah, and well, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But Safaricom is in for some very, very bumpy times, some very hard times. Yeah. Now on to the milk business. Now, one of the companies, of course, also mentioned in the economic boycott are the milk, group, because the milk industry, yeah, in Kenya is controlled by the Kenyatta family. Yeah, everybody knows that. It's not a secret. Okay. Now, the huge challenge here is that milk is a perishable. Yeah. These products cannot sit on the shelves forever. What that means is that if sales fall like a stone, like I'm hearing already it's happening, yeah, what will happen is that it will be very difficult to build up those sales. Let's say tomorrow the whole thing is resolved, or whatever time the whole thing will be resolved, which I doubt, but let's just assume it's resolved. It will take a very long time for you again to build up sales to the original levels you were enjoying before. The bottom line is that you cannot rule out, yeah, you cannot rule out the possibility of a few companies closing down as a result of this biting NASA economic boycott of products and services. And to make matters worse, it has come at a time when most companies are experiencing a downfall, difficult times in their business, yeah, not enough customers, not enough money flowing in, sales are down, and then now on top of this, you have a boycott, an aggressive boycott by NASA supporters. This would end up being too much, even for a very well-established business with deep pockets. Okay? What I can say, in summary, yeah, without hesitation, is that if your company has been included in this list of companies that are going to be, that NASA supporters are going to boycott economically, then just brace yourself for some very, very difficult times ahead. Yeah, very stormy waters. On the bright side, it's a great opportunity for other companies which have been struggling and which maybe have been hit by very, very fierce competition from these top players who are being boycotted. It's a great opportunity for them to take over the #1 spot in the market. Yeah, one such example, of course, is Airtel, the mobile phone provider. Now, Airtel have been scaling down their operations in Africa as a whole, yeah. So I would assume that that has also been happening in Kenya. But if I was them, I would halt that plan immediately, grab this opportunity with two hands, yeah, and benefit tremendously, yeah, from the backlash against Safaricom. So let's wrap this up. Now we have a government that is faced with very limited support in the country, okay. And at the same time, as this government is trying to establish itself, there is the economic boycott happening, yeah, which will definitely affect the government, yeah, because some of these top players have been very close to the government, have been supporting the government. Some of these top players have even been financiers of the Jubilee campaign. And then on top of that, you have the Mombasa, coast, secession thing going on, yeah, where coastal people are very determined to secede from the country called Kenya. Add to that increasing international condemnation of what the Jubilee government is doing, and you have a situation whereby the government will be under intense pressure, yeah, and when people are under intense pressure, they tend to make mistakes. And for a party like Jubilee that has been making mistakes already when they are not even under pressure, yeah, very serious, fatal political mistakes, yeah, we can only guess that things will just go downhill for this ruling party. And let nobody for a minute think that NASA are not serious. Hey, those guys are very, very serious. And what they've done, they've dug in for a very long night. You know, there's been a belief amongst most Jubilee supporters, and even unfortunately Jubilee bigwigs, that the whole story with this boycott, with this pressure the government is getting, yeah, over sham elections, yeah, all this pressure is because Raila Odinga and company want to get into power as soon as possible. Their priority is power. Hey, just examine carefully the decisions that the NASA coalition has taken, yeah, and you'll realize very quickly these guys are looking long term, yeah. Amazingly, their plans seem to be long term, okay. I say amazingly because the politicians we have in Kenya and indeed all over the world are programmed or are wired to look at only at life in terms of clusters of 5-year terms in office, okay. So you just think of the next 5 years, yeah. The 5 years after that is not even in the picture because you have to go through an election, yeah, to get re-elected to face the other 5 years. So you just focus on the 5 years. So you want to do a lot of short-term things, you want to do quick things. You don't want any middle or long-term things to come in the way, yeah. But I'm now convinced that what we have here is a man called Raila Odinga trying to build his legacy, okay. I would not even be surprised if at the end of this thing, yeah, Raila Odinga steps aside and grooms somebody else to be the NASA presidential candidate. I wouldn't be surprised at all. That is how serious NASA are with this thing. So folks, we have some very, very interesting times ahead. Until next time, this is Kshs Kumekucha.